Welcome to Kitsopolis. The Baker's Dozen. Once upon a time, in a small village, there lived a successful baker who was proud of his honesty. He would always sell his customers exactly what they have paid for, and they enjoyed his pastries very much. One day, when he was about to close his shop, a young girl visited his shop and asked for a dozen of his special chocolate cookies. The good baker counted 12 cookies and offered it to her. But the young girl frowned and argued that she had asked for a dozen cookies, but there is only 12 cookies in the bag. The baker tried to explain her that a dozen means 12 and it is a universal fact. But the young girl was not satisfied and requested him to give an extra cookie since a baker's dozen is always 13. The baker refused and said and she would get only what she had paid for and nothing more. The young girl vowed that she would teach the baker to count one day and left the shop angrily. From that day on, things began to go very wrong for the baker. His customers complained that his cakes were stale and crumbled to pieces even before they could eat, and his cookies were as hard as a rock. In spite of his efforts to calm them down, he started losing his customers as they no longer wanted his stale cakes and rock-hard cookies. The baker couldn't understand what was happening as he was following the same recipe for years. That night, as he was pondering over his misfortune, he heard a sound suddenly outside his house. When he went out to look, he couldn't believe his eyes. He was standing in a different world and people were gathered around a young lady. When he inquired about the young lady, a little boy answered that she was a gift fairy who would give presents to everyone. The baker wondered that how she had enough presents for everyone in a small basket. He thought there was some kind of magic. The gift fairy was seeing the baker and gave him a gift. He opened it to find the best baked chocolate cookies. He tasted it and found it to be more delicious than his own cookies. The fairy suggested that even his cookies would taste like this if he added the missing ingredient, but until he figures it out, his cookies will please no one. The baker was clueless. The next day, though the baker couldn't figure the missing ingredient, he decided to give his best and prepare the best batch of chocolate cookies he ever made. Just as he took the cookies out of the oven, the door flew open and the same young girl appeared to order a dozen of his chocolate cookies. The baker was glad as she was his first customer after days. When the baker was packing her order, he noticed that the young girl's clock was the same as the gift fairy's clock from his dream. When he counted the cookies, he found that there were 13 cookies. The young girl praised him as he discovered the missing ingredient: generosity. From that day on, his business prospered. He sold 13 cookies to all his customers, ordering a baker's dozen. Bakers across the country followed suit, and from that day on, a baker's dozen always meant 13. The end.